Blast me to Electia! It's time for the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Issue 42, Part 2, Painting Guide. Woohoo! Hello and welcome back to the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. We're back with issue 42, and as you can see, I've got my Canoness built and primed with some Chaos Black spray. You will note I have left the front of her cloak off. That's mainly just so it makes it easier reaching all the detail in behind. It's not necessary, but I like to make sure I reach all the detail that I can. So she's a rather easy model to go together. There's not a lot of detail you can't reach. So she's going to make for a wonderful first foray into the Adeptus Sororitas for you to paint. And I'll be using the paint guide in the magazine for the Order of our Martyred Lady. So the first paint we're going to need is Abaddon Black. If you are following the magazine, you are painting 3 coats of Abaddon Black straight over the model. I've primed mine with Chaos Black, and because they are 2 different finishes, we're going to need at least 1 coat of Abaddon Black, just to make sure, if we make any mistakes later on, that when we touch up, it all looks the same. So I've got some of the Abaddon Black on the palette, and I've thinned it down a little bit. And we're just going to apply this all over the model, covering areas the spray might have missed. And just giving us a wonderful flat coat black to work up our future layers in. Okay, with the Abaddon Black dry, we can move on to our next colour. So our next colour is Rakarth Flesh, and this is going to go on the inside of her cloak and onto her hood. So I'll give the paint a good shake. Get some on my palette. Touch of water, just to thin it down. As I said, the areas we're going to focus on are her hood here, and the inside of her cloak. Or a couple, maybe 3 layers going over the black. Just take your time, especially around the black armour that you finished. Don't matter too much about other details that we're painting over shortly. There we go. 3 layers of Rakarth Flesh down. You can see I've made a little bit of a mess on the back of the cloak, but that's not to worry, because we're going to cover that up in the next stage, which is to use a Fiston Red. I'm picking out all the other bits of cloth. So the top of a cloak, her skirt, the sleeves, anywhere that we haven't pretty much already painted with Rakarth Flesh. And she's also got a little headband up underneath the hood. You might want to use your medium layer brush for that, for a little bit of extra control. I'm just using the starter brush for the moment, as it's a nice wide brush. I can cover a lot of area quite easily. So I'm going to work the paint in between the beads on her Rosarius there. We'll cover those up with lead Belcher in a minute. Don't matter about getting any red paint on her leg there, because that'll be lead Belcher in the next stage as well. Like I said, you got her skirt there. You got the back of her cloak to pick out. There's a little screen on her power pack. That needs to be Mephiston red as well. Just work your way around the model. You might need to go back and do a second layer as well, as I can still see some of the black showing through there. But when we're finished, we can move on to our next colour. So there we have our Canoness painted up with the Mephiston red. I tidied up the areas where I've accidentally got red on. Looks like I've missed her foot there, didn't see that. But we can easily touch that up in the next stage, because we are now going to be painting with lead Belcher. And this is going to go on all the different metallic details. There's quite a few scattered around the model, so make sure you check the gallery at the end of the paint guide, as you'll be able to tell which areas should be lead Belcher. Also, don't forget to change your water after you've finished, as we don't want to get any metallic flakes into our other colours. But get some lead Belcher on your palette, thin it down with a touch of water, and onto our model. So the first area we're going to look at covering is her bionic leg down here. And her power sword at the same time. Just make sure you work your brush into all the detail. Other areas we need to pick out are her Rosarius here, her prayer beads, her grenade there, the centre of her corset. She's got some small pipes running along her collar. I'll pick those out of lead Belcher as well. And there's some small details on her power pack. So we've got these little nodes at the back and on here, as well as the rims on the vents just up here. And once you're done, and then you've tidied up any mistakes, we're ready to move on to our next colours. With all that lead Belcher now done, as you can see here, I've done the tassels on the front of her headdress. But with all that lead Belcher done, we've nearly finished blocking in all the colours. So the next lot of colours are just quick ones, and then we'll be going on to a all over shade. So first off, we want Corex White, and this is for any of the fleur-de-lis, her face, and for her the shaft of her rod of office. So I'm going to use my medium layer brush, as it's a little bit smaller. I can get a little better control over it. Because a lot of the areas we've got to cover are fairly fine. So we'll start with her face, just in there. Then we got the shaft of her rod of office. Colouring it all in, don't worry about any of the detail. That'll get picked out with the shade. Just be careful when you get close to the areas you've already finished. But if you do make a mistake, just cover up with those base layers. And finally we've got the fleur-de-lis to paint. So this large one on the back of a power pack. Make sure you've got a nice tip on your brush. And just pick that out in the Corex White. Next up, you want to take Screamer Pink, and she's just going to go onto the hilt of her power sword. So, I want a very small amount. Tiny touch of water. And onto grip of a power sword, just there. And that's it. And finally, before we get to the wash, we want McCrag Blue. And this is just going to go on the power coils of her plasma pistol. So again, we only want a small amount of the blue on our palette. Tiny touch of water, thin it down a little bit. Then we just want to reach in behind and gently pick out those power coils. Don't matter if we get any on the actual plasma pistol itself. We can pick that out in the next stage. There we go, that's our base layers done. Now we're going to move on to a all over shade. Okay, next we can start the wash process. So we're using non-oil for our first wash. This is going to go over everything we've painted except for the ragdoll flesh, her face, and well, that's pretty much it. So we're going to be painting this over all the metal, the cloth, the rod of office, the power sword, so we'll just go in, we'll start here on the skirt and her Rosarius, picking out all the detail of the shade, making sure it doesn't collect too much in the recesses. We don't want to overpower. We've got the Screamer Pink there, areas to cover up, as well as the McCrag Blue. Try to avoid the rack off flesh areas, like I said. It doesn't matter if you get any on the black, as the shade won't really show up much, but it should help give a little bit of definition to it. With the null all dry, we're ready to move on to our next colour. And now we've got to pick out all the gold details, and for that we'll use the Retribute Armor. There are quite a lot of these over the model, so just take your time and use the guide in the magazine to help you. As some of these details are quite fine, I do suggest using your medium layer brush again. But any brush that has a good thin tip will be suitable. So we'll just thin the paint down a little bit. Not too much of metallics. And now we got to pick out all the gold details. So we've got her Rosaries here to pick out first. Just give that a coat of Retribute Armor. We got the head of a staff of office there. We got the decorative elements on the back of her headrest. Just take your time painting these areas. We've also got the pommel and the grip on her sword just there, and the skull. Pick that all out. You want to paint the whole of a plasma pistol that we can see. Nice and ornate, as she's a commander. And making sure you haven't got very much on your brush and a nice thin point. We've got all these little fleur-de-lis and this line. Going all the way across the bottom of her cloak. And then we got details here again. Small little fleur-de-lis details on her power pack exhaust, just there. You can easily run your brush over those. And then on the front of her robe here, you'll pick out all these details, leaving the lead Belcher and Known Oil in the recessed details. There we go, with the Retribute Armor all dry. And I've tidied up the back of the cloak there, it's still a little wet from the wash. But we're ready to move on to our next two washes. So the first we want is Agrax Earthshade, and this is just going to go over the areas we've painted with Rackar Flesh. So I won't need too much, just enough to coat over her hood here. And the inside of her cloak as well. And finally, we want Rikling Fresh Shade. So this is going to go on her face and over all the gold details. Just take your time working your way around the model, applying this Rikling Fresh Shade all over the areas we've just painted. With those washes drying, we can focus on the base. So we're going to apply a layer of Astro Granite all over. So we'll use the scoop end of our texture tool to apply some on the base. And then we'll use our small end, just push it around. So we don't get too much on the detail on the model. And you're going to want to leave it for about an hour to dry. Then afterwards, we just want to give it a layer of Nuln Oil. Okay, with our texture paint dry, all that's left is to give it a wash of Nuln Oil, and then we are finished. Let me go back to my starter brush for this. We just want to apply a shade all over the base, like so. And when that's dry, you can sit back and enjoy your model. So that's the Canoness painted up to the magazine standard for issue 42 of Imperium. And then once I remove the blue tack, I can attach her collar in place. But there she goes. She looks really quite nice, don't she? And let's see how she fares on the battlefield as it's time for the next video and our battle report, where the sister is leading a squad of Ultramarines in order to re-sanctify some soiled ground. So all that's left for me to do is thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Doing so really helps out the channel. I'm young and I'm looking forward to becoming a top name on YouTube at some point. But a little like and a share here and there will help me get noticed. Like I said, I will see you in the next video where we have our issues battle report as well as any rules. So, I'll see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.